Great to have you on, Chris. First question is, what is it you do and how did you get there?
Okay, so I'm the managing director of a business called Ascend, which is a digital marketing agency. So we're paid media specialists for e-commerce brands, but we also have launching today, in fact, our data intelligence platform, which aims to give e-commerce retailers all the data at their fingertips to make smarter decisions and make better decisions. The amount of businesses that are still run out of Excel spreadsheets is relatively scary. So this is a dashboard that puts all of your data together and tells you the what and the why behind your data, as well as long term, giving you using AI to give you the suggested actions and outcomes as well. So very exciting. How did I get here? So I've only been in the business for 5 weeks, but my whole career pretty much has been working in agency. So I've worked from right at the top end of the scale, an agency called iProspect, which is a huge global brand, down to smaller independent businesses. It was looking for a fresh challenge, and had a chat with Nick, really, who owns the business and the group, and talked to me about the platform and the potential for the platform to drive the agency. And it seems a really good opportunity, something to make us stand out and differentiate.
Sure, absolutely. I get your point about needing analysis rather than data for sure. One question I'll ask, because it's really fascinating because you've been in there just 5 weeks. Just tell me a bit about how you go about that, given you go into a company pretty early on. Obviously you're the leader, you want to make an impact. What are some of the things that you do in that instance, and what's some of the things that you don't do? I'm just curious.
For me, it's important to take your time to learn what's gone on in the past, learn the team, learn what motivates them, rather than coming in and trying to impose your own style from day one. I think it's about being flexible and adaptable. The business has been successful prior to you arriving, so you have to listen and learn to what's gone on in the past, what's worked for this business might not have worked previously, and vice versa. So yeah, I think going into anywhere of a one size fits all type approach, or kind of going in heavy handed, is never going to endear to people. And ultimately, as a leader of the business, one of the things you've got to do is get them to buy into you and what you're looking to achieve, but also get them to trust you. And I think one of the ways you build trust is by listening.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree more on it. Yeah, I get that whole trust piece, because you walk in as the new person and it's like, who is this guy or whatever. Yeah. Have you got any tips or thoughts in the ways that you try and build that trust early on in a business with new staff, new team?
I think it's easier the smaller the organization you're in. So Send is a relatively small business. And the reason I say it's easier is because I think one of the key ways to do it is to spend time with people, get to know them, get to understand what motivates them, what their past experiences have been, where they're at in their journey, and build those personal relationships. Obviously, if you're walking into a business that's 400, 500, 600 people, that's absolutely impossible. But yeah, kind of building your network and just showing yourself to be empathetic towards them, and also some level of vulnerability, I think, rather than kind of coming in and with a load of bravado and facade doesn't necessarily work.
No, absolutely. I like the vulnerability piece, and being authentic, I think, is absolutely really important in those kind of early days. Are there any key learnings that you've had from the past that you already know that you can bring into this business, for example?
I think there's lots of learnings as we scale. So the journey of a business, as you go from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 to 100 people, which is what we did at the office in Stafford with iProspect, the nature of your role massively changes, and I think that's a really important learning to bring here. That the role I'm doing now with a relatively small team will be very different to the role I'll be doing in 2 years' time when we've achieved the growth that we're looking to, and the way that you have to operate changes over time, and I know that you can't run a 50, 60 person business in the same way that you can run a business with 20 people. And I think it's recognizing that and realizing that adaptation has to take place over time.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I get that. You talked there about scale up, and clearly you've got a very exciting product. It's clearly, we talked earlier about, there's a real need for this. So I guess I'm assuming one of the important points is to go and find new clients and kind of sell this to them. So any particular thoughts about how you do that, the best ways to do that, how you're going to aim to do that, given that'll be a priority?
Yeah, so what we're effectively hoping in the medium to long term is that the technology platform is going to be the new business pipeline for the agency business, because naturally, as we sign clients up to the technology platform, the intelligence platform, we'll have access to their data, and we'll be able to talk to them about how we can help them scale. In terms of how we're looking to onboard clients onto the tech piece, so it's going to be very much, because this is a product that's relevant for anyone that's selling anything on Shopify, right? So the market size is absolutely huge. So it's going to be relatively mass market in terms of the approach we're doing. It's probably not going to be much one-to-one sales, just because of the price point and the scale. We've also got some pretty interesting backers. So we're backed by Flight Fund, Stephen Bartlett's organization, and they're going to be help.
Oh wow, cool.
They're going to help with the promotion. So pretty hopeful that when that lands, it will create a lot of noise, and we've got a pretty decent marketing budget as well. And we'll be doing, it'll very much be a kind of a SaaS model in terms of how we're looking to push it out there, but all the classic techniques, thought leadership, events, sponsorship, white papers. Obviously, as we get to more of a critical mass on the platform, we'll be able to do a lot of industry benchmarking stuff and really kind of show our authority in the field. So yeah, lots of exciting plans and decent budgets to help push the platform.
Sure, and that's exciting. The white papers, the thought leadership is a great opportunity to show credibility and understanding of what you do, rather than simply go out and try and claim customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got to prove that you can add value and have knowledge, haven't you? And that's one way that sharing knowledge adds value to other people, particularly on platforms like LinkedIn, where a lot of people are just shouting about what they do, right? And it's
sure.
Yeah, if you can actually put information out there that is genuinely useful to people, I think you've got a strong chance of engaging.
Couldn't agree more. And people look for it. It's that kind of almost editorial versus advertising piece, isn't it? It comes with credibility. But just, it's interesting because your market is very much, as you say, Shopify, anybody effectively selling anything. But are there any sectors that are priority for you to start with, or you think that it's more appropriate for, or is it truly across the board?
No, I think the platform side of it is truly anyone selling anything on through a Shopify platform. There'll be further integrations in due course, but the first integration is Shopify, and yeah, literally anyone selling anything through there is a target market. I can guarantee almost any business will get additional insight by using the platform that they're not already getting.
So just out of interest, let me put you on the spot here. If what is it likely that the typical client would be saying that is their problem that would get answered by what you're providing to them? Is there a one sentence thing? If you said this magic thing, then you say, that's it, we've got a solution for that.
I think the key challenge, I think there's a number of key challenges. Everyone's looking to get more for less. Everyone's having their budget squeezed. Consumers are spending less. So it's never been more important to understand the key drivers of your performance marketing, of revenue generation. Obviously, performance marketing is a large part of that. And naturally, a lot of people run these channels. Everyone kind of puts their hands up and tries to claim the sale themselves, right? Attribution's even more challenging than it's ever been with cookie data and all this sort of stuff going on. So the platform will give you that unparalleled insight into what is actually driving your revenue performance. There's no more, we think it's this, or PPC agency is saying they've spent more, so that's them, or the Facebook agency is saying they've done this, so it's them. We'll show you statistically the strength of correlation between your the different metrics in all your activity against any of your e-com activity you want to see, whether that's your AOV, your revenue, all of those metrics that you can track.
Neat elevator pitch. That was great. That's fantastic. Good. So just, and I'm going to just go back to scale up. What do you think will be the biggest challenges as you scale up? Because clearly you're going to be a success. The product that you've got, you're going to go out there, and the thought leadership, and so on and so forth. So it will build and build. What do you think are the biggest challenges on scaling up?
I mean, one of the issues that I think lots of businesses face is talent attraction. There's still huge skill shortages in the UK. We've got a really good team at the minute that's well placed and has the capacity to support that scaling, but obviously that they don't have the capacity to last forever. I think getting the right people in is one of the biggest challenges, particularly in the smaller organizations, because everyone's got to be a good skills fit, but also a good cultural fit. So I think that's probably going to be the biggest challenge as we scale, because the technology the platform is built on is totally scalable. Our CTO told me today we could onboard 1,000 people tomorrow and it would be no issue. It's built to scale, but obviously there's the people side of things, and every business is built on people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's Stephen Bartlett that says he only had one job at social media, and that was to ensure that he recruited really, really great people. And as long as he did that, then the business worked and the business grew, and he could rely on a team that kind of made it happen. And I thought it was a great phrase from him. So what's the vision? What's it look like? What do you think? What do you think it'll look like in 5 years' time? What's some of the things that you have in your mind?
I mean, I'm hoping in 5 years' time we've got a very well established platform with, I wouldn't like to guess user figures, but certainly well into the thousands. Sure. And the agency business is thriving and growing as well. Reputational growth for the agency, it's relatively small, so hope that in 5 years' time, Ascend is a household name within maybe not a household name, but certainly within the marketing community. Sure. That we're well known both for the platform and the agency. We're driving some fantastic results for our clients, and we need to shout about them a little bit more, to be honest, because I joined and saw some of them and thought it was an error in the data. It was that good. So yeah, that's kind of the goal, that we've got multiple thousands of people using the platform, and the agency's grown in line with that.
Sure. No, excellent. A couple of final questions. One is, do you by chance have anybody who's that you look up to, or that's inspired you, or somebody from the past or whatever that has given value to you in terms of getting you to where you are now?
There's probably too many to mention, to be honest, because I've been incredibly fortunate. I've worked in some fantastic businesses. I mean, I'll go back. I was very, very lucky to start my career in the industry at an agency called The Searchworks. Sadly, no longer exists. It was purchased and then sold, and doesn't really exist in the guise that existed. But the team we had there, particularly the leadership team in the agency, was absolutely fantastic. And I don't think you appreciate the time when you're starting out your career that this isn't how well run every business is. But yeah, that was a fantastic place to start my career, and work with some absolutely brilliant people there. So yeah, I won't call out anyone by name, but as a group, that was a fantastic place to work.
And that is, I've done the similar kind of thing. If you get a real team that gets alignment and actually really gets it together, and then really kind of sparks off each other, The passion and the drive is fantastic. And I guess, again, that's what you've just said about when you recruit people as you scale up, that's what you want to create, isn't it? So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every hire's got to be right, hasn't it? Otherwise, it risks your long-term plans.
Absolutely. And you mentioned culture, which is clearly that's the important bit, that everybody
Yeah.
fits in a culture, especially when I guess it's a dynamic environment and one that you're going to work in terms of.
Absolutely. We're recruiting at the moment for a head of department, and I've been very honest with people when they come in that, look, this is a dynamic, fast-paced environment, and if you're looking for a senior role where you get to sit back and direct traffic, that is not this. It's quite hands-on, and yeah, we've got to make sure we're getting the right people in.
Yeah.
It's challenge number one.
I
Absolutely.
like that honesty when you're doing the recruiting. That's exactly what you're going to need to do.
I feel like you have to be, otherwise you could attract some really good talent, but if it's not what they're expecting, that talent will churn. So all you do then is set yourself back 6 months, don't you? So
Sure.
I'd always rather be completely honest with people from the very first interaction.
Sure.
And some people will self-select, and I've had this before. Some people say that's not for me, and that's absolutely fine. But I'd rather they know what they're coming into, rather than in the first couple of weeks think this isn't what I was expecting.
Sure. On that basis, and I said I'm going to ask a final, but I'm squeezing in another question before my final one, and only because it's one that interests me. I know you're based in Stafford, not that that really matters because your business will be totally national to serve anybody everywhere. But just in terms of when you're recruiting, because it is an issue for people these days. So this whole issue of, do I work in the office? Do I work from home? Do you have a clear policy? Are you fairly flexible? What's your status on working from home?
Yeah, we have a clear policy. We have 2 days a week in the office, 3 days a week from home. And I think it's really important, particularly as an agency. The whole point of an agency is supposed to be that we're greater than the sum of our parts. And I think that's really hard to achieve if everyone is solely working remotely and not getting together and not collaborating and not bouncing ideas off each other. There's obviously been massive advancements in remote working, and I know there's lots of remote-only businesses. I just think it's so much harder to do that when people aren't just getting together. So yeah, we have 2 days a week in the office, 3 days from home. We think that's a fair approach. And yeah, like I say, from an agency perspective, I think it's really, really important. The other thing I think is important, and this might make me sound really old now, but I think for people, I think for people starting their careers, I don't think they can underestimate the value of spending time with people that are more experienced, just learning through osmosis. So naturally in an agency you will hire junior staff and develop them as well. And I think the best way to develop them, for them to learn and grow, is by being around people that have been doing this for years. And I think there's a whole generation of people now up to 26 years old that have potentially never worked 5 days a week in an office. And I think whilst they probably massively appreciate the flexibility and the lifestyle that affords them, I think it naturally slows down development. Now I'm all for flexibility and treating people like adults, so I don't want to come across as it feels like a very black and white topic, doesn't it? You see on LinkedIn, there's people going, we should be in the office 5 days a week, and then other people saying we should all be completely remote. I think balance is key, but I do think you can't underestimate the value of just getting people together and spending time, particularly when you're early in your career.
That's really interesting, because I think, yes, a lot of people have begun to realize that, just the value of people hearing conversations across the office, those kind of things, and actually didn't realize that until it didn't happen. And then it became apparent, we're missing something here, because there isn't the constant education piece with people just kind of interacting in the office. But no, it sounds like you've got a great compromise, which I think is brilliant. You've got the connectivity of people being in the office and so on and so forth, but for those people who like the idea of an element of kind of flexibility and not having to get in the car every morning, so no, excellent. Sorry, I threw that in as a bit of an extra one, but it's an interesting topic at the moment. So final one, a bit of fun one. So what's your recommendation in terms of a book or a podcast that actually you something that you've been listening to you think is brilliant and you recommend?
I'll give you a couple of books. I'll give a plug to someone I used to work with in a previous role, who was I did some mentoring with, Super Engaged by Nikki Gattenby. Very good book. I also really like the chimp paradox. I think that's I quite like a bit of psychology. So yeah, I think that's quite an interesting one as well. Yeah, podcasts. I don't tend to listen to too many at the minute, other than a non-work related one, which is Parenting Hell by Rob Beckett and Josh Widdicombe. So I've got 2 young kids myself, so it's quite nice just to hear that you're not the only person suffering at times. And so yeah, that's the one I tend to listen to on the way into work.
I'm sure anything I don't know that one, but anything with Josh Widdicombe is probably going to be kind of good.
It's very good, yeah.
No, excellent. No, I do like the chimp paradox, Professor Steve Peters, and when we all get to understand why we blow up when we're kind of driving around on road rage, and it's the fact that the blood went faster to that bit of our brain. Yeah. I love that. So, well, hey, Chris, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time in doing this kind of thing. And all the very best with the business. I'm sure it's going to be a great success. I've seen the product that you've offered. Brilliant. So good luck, and we will stay in touch. Okay.
Perfect.